Hello, welcome to the podcast Euphony by Euphony Studio. I'm S.01.EP.02, your host. I'm also the founder of a French digital copywriting agency called Assonance. This is the first episode in English and I hope you'll like it. Euphony is a project of audio content produced by the agency Assonance, but it's also a project that I love very much because it's a good occasion to talk about writing from different points of view. Remember this, you are not listening to a content marketing podcast. That's why our guests won't come only from the tech industry. There are writers, copywriters, journalists, and scientists as well. Each episode will be in English or in French. The language is written in the title of each episode of this podcast. It's also mentioned on the thumbnail displayed by your favorite app, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or Google Podcast. Another thing, there will be two kinds of episodes. Some short episodes, like this one, where I'm the only person who talks, and some longer episodes where will be at least two people. We plan to do one episode a month and some bonus episodes in between. So today I'd like to talk about writing instruments. This is for me a very interesting topic. Yes, I'm quite a stationery addict. This is a fact, but I'm also very hard to please. When I found an item that I like, I'm capable of buying everything from the same brand. Nevertheless, I've got different types of pencils, fountain pens, papers, notebooks, and so on. The process is the same for my keyboards. For example, I like my Logitech MX Mechanical Mini so much that the last time I've been away for a long time, I was so relieved to work with it again. It was like sleeping back on your own bed after a while. My project for this year is to get an old-fashioned typewriter. But why? Why do I need to have a different writing instrument? We are in the modern era of keyboards and tablets. I'll tell you why. Because I have the strong feeling I work differently depending on which tool I choose. With a fountain pen, I tend to write slower and to think a bit more about what I'm doing. I cannot write as quick as I want to, so I'm more focused. Usually, with a pencil my handwriting is a bit rough. I take a pencil when I want to write fast, like throwing my thoughts on paper. With a keyboard, this is very, very different. I'm one of those people who can brag they can type on a keyboard without looking at it. But I think this is mainly because I write a lot and I've been writing for a long time on a computer. When I was a kid, I used to copy some source code that I found in a book into my brother's Amstrad. An urban legend says that this is how the Amstrad happens to stop functioning. With an old-fashioned typewriter, I hope that I could experience a new cadence to think. With a pen, this is very interesting not to erase or not to scratch words off the page. With a computer, this is so easy. But with a typewriter, I could experience a combination of typing and writing at the same time without the possibility to delete anything. This is also fun how which type of pen you use can say a lot about yourself from other people's point of view. For example, what would you think if you meet someone who uses only Montblanc fountain pens, and this person happens to own a dozen of them? This is how Donna Tartt chose to introduce the character of Julianne Moreau in her novel The Secret History. This character seems to be the most erudite person in the world. Today, writing instruments is a big market. You can buy all sorts of pens, all sorts of keyboards. This is an industry which innovates a lot. Did you already try a pen with a gravity sensor? I did, and it's quite fun. Let's talk about keyboards. The one you used to type on at school and my wonderful mechanical one are certainly very different. But do you remember the butterfly keyboards on MacBooks that we hated so much? And do you know the Beepo keyboards? In theory, the disposition of keys on these keyboards is less traumatizing for our hands. Nevertheless, it's much easier to get a classic mechanical keyboard because the Beepo keyboards would push you to relearn how to write. But everyone I know who tried Beepo are now really convinced. So, what about you? What do you use? Do you have a simple ballpoint pen but an efficient pen? Do you fancy to write with a fountain pen but with which type of nib? Which ink? Do you only type on a keyboard on your computer? Or did you try to work with those nearly analog devices? Companies such as Remarkable and FreeWrite are promising us to enter the flow to be focused very quickly thanks to their writing instruments. Those are supposed to be the combination of what the best between the old school analog world and the so modern digital world. Is this something you would like to try? To reply, you can use Twitter by mentioning the account Assonance Studio. But for now, here is the end of our first episode in English. I'm S.01.EP.02 and I wish you to find your perfect writing instrument. The podcast Euphony is available on Spotify, Apple Podcast and Google Podcast. See you soon!